how do recent rather Supreme Court rulings reflect a broader ideological shift in U.S. immigration policy under the Trump administration?
Well, it's good to be with you. I have to challenge the premise of the setup, the way you framed the
Sure.
story. The radical shift in policy isn't the effort to deport people who are in the United States now. The radical shift in policy occurred during the Biden administration when they stopped enforcing the immigration laws and were virtually letting anyone through on the US Mexico border. We don't know how many people got in, but the estimates are in the millions. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. And the Trump administration uh, is trying to address that issue. You can make an argument, I think a rather persuasive argument, that one of the things that Donald Trump was elected to do was to solve an immigration crisis that had, under Biden, gotten absolutely out of control. So the radical shift is not the enforcement of law. The radical shift was the decision not to enforce the laws. And what the court is now doing is giving Trump in fits and starts some ability to bring things under control.
Okay. What about legal migrants like those from Venezuela and Haiti? Their status is also sort of on the fence. How does this work legally?
I think that everybody's status, if they're not already a green card holder or they've become a citizen, is up for review. Now, I can say with some confidence that the targets here are not political refugees fleeing socialist tyranny in Venezuela or Haiti or Cuba. The targets here are the people who came across the border, probably pushed up through Mexico, starting in Central American countries, or people who landed in Central American countries in Mexico and were pushed up towards the American border and are in here in the United States, without papers, without us knowing who they are, what their backgrounds are, um, where they are. And this presents, I think, an issue that everyone can understand. I mean, no matter where you are, you would think that people who live in a country and pay the taxes to run the government have a right to know who wants to come in to their country and live there.
Okay, Dr. Nohan, if we could get your take here now. How do current US immigration policies compare to the global trends in managing legal migrant population? Do you think or agree with what Peter just said there, that this is just the application of the law?
Good evening, Riham, and thank you for having me with you. Actually, the right of movement within or outside the country is a basic human right. It was mentioned clearly in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights since 40s. But actually, the issue of immigration is basically a national issue. I mean, each country determines the criteria according to which, or the condition according to which it can accept or receive immigrants or not. So each country decide what kinds of immigrants, or according to what conditions it can accept immigrants. Such a criteria may be according to its needs, to some specialists in some fields, like what we are notice in Germany, for example. Its priorities, its security, national security requirements, also the relation among countries. I mean, when tensions happened between two countries, maybe one of them blocked the borders and refused to receive the citizens or to receive immigrants from the other. So I think it is basically national security and national issue. What Peter mentioned, I think it's acceptable. I mean, to organize what is going on in immigration and the immigrants file. I think it is a right for the American government. Maybe it is not suit for some immigrants, some citizens from other countries, but it is still a national, purely a national right.
Okay, Peter, back to you again. So what message does the targeting of cities like Huntington Beach send to the local government resisting the federal immigration enforcement? Do you think that this is something that may cause a stir, I suppose?
I think it is accelerating the divide between what in America we refer to as red states and blue states. The red states are the free market conservative states that back Trump. The blue states are the big labor boss, socialist leaning, big spending, full-time government states like California, Illinois, and New York. And it's interesting that New York had a very open, welcoming sanctuary city policy towards immigration until the governors of Texas and other border states started sending their border crossers to New York and dumping them off. It's your sanctuary city. You want them, you take them. We can't afford to feed them, clothe them, house them. And it created an economic crisis and a social crisis in New York City, which ended up, I think, with the Biden administration pressuring to indict the mayor because he was objecting and interfering, therefore, in the Biden immigration policy. Look, I think immigrants are tremendous. America was built by immigrants. I'm under no illusions about that. And I want people who want to come here because America's free. And you can work hard and start a business and acquire and create jobs and get rich and live out your wildest dreams because of the collateral impact that has on everyone else who lives here. So I think immigrants are a net positive, but we have to know who's coming in, and it has to be done in an orderly fashion. And we cannot afford to take in people who think, well, I can be poor in my home country, or I can go to the United States and be poor and live off the welfare system, because then I'm, comparatively speaking, rich. We can't afford to do that anymore. We're $30 trillion in debt. We don't have the economic growth necessary.
But even the illegal immigrants, don't you agree, sir, that even the illegal immigrants do contribute to the economy? They work as day laborers, for instance, or work in other, menial jobs, I suppose. They still contribute. They don't live on welfare.
Absolutely. There are people who come here illegally and are working, and they're the people, frankly, that I care about the most, because they want to be here, they want to work, but because of their questionable status, bad people can take advantage of them, and they can't seek out the legal protections that other American workers are entitled to because they're afraid of being sent home. And so I encourage anybody who's thinking about coming to the United States to do it through legal means, so that if you find yourself in a working situation where you're exploited, you have recourse.